From mandatory recycling programs to taxes on plastic, government regulation of environmental issues has long been an accepted and encouraged practice around the world. For years, governments from Denmark to Kenya have enacted legislation and enforced regulations in an effort to reduce harmful environmental behaviors in their countries. But in the United States, participating in green behavior has remained a largely voluntary choice for Americans. Recently, however, certain city governments across the country have taken initiative to do their part in helping the environment.
Tonight we take a closer look at the growing backlash against bags. Billions of plastic and paper bags are stuffed full of groceries every year. Both kinds of bags are targeted as harmful by environmental groups. So some cities are moving to tax them, both kinds. Washington, D.C. is the latest to take aim. The city council there just approved a 5-cent tax on every paper and plastic bag.
The D.C. initiative, entitled the Save the River campaign, aims to help the environment in two ways. First, each nickel collected under the tax goes towards cleanup of the long-neglected Anacostia River. Second, it encourages reduction of overall plastic bag consumption, quite an ambitious green goal. But nearly a full year has passed, yet D.C. residents and tourists alike are still divided. Do they even understand the initiative?
Really weird because like in Pennsylvania we don't have tax on like barely anything. It's just like, you know, like miscellaneous stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, there's a bag tax here in DC. I'm like, wait, what?
I went to the store to get something and I was waiting for a bag. She said you got to pay 5 cents. I said, why? She says because it was a tax of DC government.
When you go grocery shopping, you go to like 5 or 6 bags and it starts to add up. So it definitely helps people, I think, to hopefully use reusable bags. It's good for the environment, cutting down on plastic use.
Ridiculous. I just bought a tie at Macy's and they were charging me 9 cents extra, or was that
5 cents?
5 cents extra.
Without even asking.
Yeah, without even asking. Only at a grocery store when we first moved here, like at a package store.
I think that's bullshit. I mean, I go to a grocery store to buy food. I shouldn't have to pay a tax to clean up a river. I mean, you know, that doesn't make any sense to that.
That's
so
the
then we
problem
have to pay for the stupid bags and we get pissed. But you know what? So if I had to pay 5 cents for the bag, I should be able to bring them back and sell them back to the store.
The river had a lot of plastic bags in it. That's like one of the main reasons why the money went there. But I mean, yeah, I agree with Rich. It can't hurt. I mean, like, if you're cleaning up the river, that's a benefit to the city as a whole, right?
I'm definitely in favor of the bag tax. It seems to me it's just as easy for people to bring along their own bag and not generate lots of waste bags each time they go to the store.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to judge. I never counted how many plastic bags I saw in the trees of D.C. To now say there are fewer of them, but I hope there are.
In our conversations across the city, we inadvertently ended up educating many consumers about the purpose of the tax. But even after they were made aware, many were still torn on its effectiveness.
There could also be some changes from last year. We're both from this area, so we're kind of familiar with the Anacostia River. Back at high school, we used to go and as class trips, go and clean it up. It's a pretty filthy river. They used to warn us about hypodermic needles. Yeah, so.
I mean, I don't really care about the Save the River. I think that's more of a political expediency to get the bag tax passed. But I feel like less bags are probably a good thing.
The thing is, I don't know how bad it was at first. If I knew how bad it was, then I would know what to say. But by me not knowing anything about it, because I was living in Northern Virginia.
Okay.
And so we didn't have that kind of problem. All we had was deer, and they don't throw bags around.
But what about the other aim of the tax? Reduction of the overall use and consumption of plastic bags. Surprisingly, even the strongest opponents admitted to some form of behavior change as a result of the tax.
Yeah, it's less bags on the street. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it just nudges us to think about the bag a little more than we otherwise would.
Something like I feel like if for me I didn't know, if I took a bag and I get charged 5 cents, you don't really look at your receipt or see what it says. So I feel like if they made it, if you would know more about it or just be aware of okay, if you do get this bag, it's 5 cents, and maybe if store owners would say, hey, this is 5 cents and this is why, then people would be more aware of the issue and it'd be like, you know, like when you're consciously shopping, like, okay, I'm not going to pick up a bag today.
I will not pay for no bag. 5 cents? I take my pocketbook and use it as a bag.
Just pay the 5 cents and use the bag.
Yeah.
That was weird.
I know that, like, my parents back home, they usually bring, like, reusable bags to the grocery store. But, I mean, it all depends on the situation. Like, if it's convenient to take one of the bags to the store, they might pay. But then again, if, like, they're just getting, like, 1 or 2 items, then why would you bother?
Right.
It's pretty much the money. It's just annoying to pay 5 cents. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. But I just hate seeing it on my receipt. And so it just made me stop using bags.
When made aware that their actions aligned with the purpose of the tax, these consumers still could not agree on its appropriateness or its benefit to the environment.
You know what, I think there'd be some people who'd be for it, and I think there'd be other people who are like, oh, this is outrageous, because if anything gets taxed, people get mad. You know, when people have to pay more money about anything, they're going to be mad, so.
Possibly it ought to be more, but certainly at 5 cents.
It shouldn't be more for the sake of people who can't afford it.
Well, that's true.
It's just
Recycling
a surprise.
and the environment. It's not that we're anti-environment. It's just that
I feel like this isn't
and you know, we don't have any representation in this in the district. So why do they? I mean, why? Seriously, I don't
Why
get
tax us? Don't like bags.
Yeah, we don't have any choice. We don't have any say.
And that, I don't think it does nothing but affects the poor people. You know, people with less than.
This is a recession.
They have to pay for a bag to carry stuff out. All you're doing is inviting them to bring their own bags in, fill them up, go buy a couple things,
and walk out.
Toss them on top.
Yeah.
And next time you get broke.
Because
this
if
will
you
pop out
have
thicker than
that
mad, won't it?
little reusable green bag from someplace else, what's to say you hadn't been someplace else already to shop?
The economy is already bad. All you're doing is giving people a reason to legitimately shoplift without getting caught.
I walked out the store with the can of lemonade, you know, the dollar lemonade. Came out the store, the manager came, walking in the store, didn't see where I paid for the food or not, but he stopped me and accused me of not paying for the thing. So
They have enough money to clean up the Anacostia River with now. They talking about we're in a recession and people are still buying stuff. The government has leather seats. I got to sit on vinyl.
Even with the United States lagging far behind other countries in enforcing green behavior, Americans still seem to be divided about government involvement in their lives, even when the intended goal is to help save the planet.
This area is a larger, contributor of plastic disposal that we should be paying for something to help augment, environment, reconditioning.
All right. The only river that bag tax is cleaning is the river that leads right into your hookers and family vacations fund.
It's not in any company's best interest to try to help the environment. Their interest is trying to increase profits, not necessarily clean up the Anacostia River. So it would be the government's job to then try to encourage the cleanup of that river then.
The government is going to be the government, so we can't control that. So that's out of our hands. We just hope that it will change soon for the better.
So does this mean that American consumers are not environmentally conscious? Are they simply uncaring and unconcerned about the environment? Or does the resistance stem from some other underlying issue?
I think it's good the government stepping in. It's like making it aware, like, hey, this is an issue. We need to, as a country, as a society, we need to all be in this together. But I think the problem with our country is that, our society as a whole, is that we're very resistant to change. That if something happens, we get all up in arms about it, and we just see the immediate effects, like, oh, this is what's going on right now. We can't see what's going to happen long term. So
I don't think they're doing it to save the Potomac. I don't think they're doing anything to save it. So I think that's irrelevant. I don't care about the 5 cents. If there was a chance in hell that it was going, that
Actually,
they would show me how that money is being spent.
And how many
I'll give you 20 cents.
And how many other projects have they had throughout time in D.C.?
Charge 20 cents a bag and split it between homeless services,
and
education, and cleaning stuff up.
Here at last, we find a few points on which most consumers seem to agree. The government needs to do a better job of communicating its intent if it plans to expand its scope of environmental regulation. It also needs to find a way to increase its transparency and demonstrate its follow-through with green projects if it wants to boost consumer buy-in. But no matter whether the response to environmental regulation is favorable and sympathetic or angry and indignant, the bottom line is this: government intervention is achieving its intended mission of changing consumer behavior. The preliminary results of the Save the River campaign in Washington, D.C. serve as a potent illustration of the fact that true sweeping environmental impact can be accomplished with a little governmental nudge.
Because it's not wasting, but I'm not paying 5 cents because I barely want to pay $5 for a hot dog.
Right.
Some place I can get a hot dog for $1. I only came here because I heard Mama been here. So I said, let me stop by and get one. And I'm going, oh, she had? Let me go eat. I don't want to talk no more.
Thank you so much.